half a second.
Vibes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Odin.
Vibes.
It's me and Rich again today. And our subject for this glorious podcast is
Vibrations.
See, we do finish each other's sentences. Wonderfully romantic.
yeah.
You know, this two-person podcast is very intimate. We just get to stare straight into each other's eyes. There's no third Blake to get in the way. Or Alper with his quirky topics.
That's true.
Who does he think he is bringing up love last week, 2 weeks ago?
A couple weeks ago.
Time is just a construct. Anyways,
Yeah.
vibrations,
Vibes.
people.
Should we talk about vibrations or vibes?
Is there a difference? I just like using the words interchangeably. Let's
Yeah,
go with
I mean, they
vibes.
should be used interchangeably because one is an
Vibes.
abbreviation.
No one, I guess not. People do say, like, you know, good vibrations, yo.
Yeah.
You got good vibrations.
But I
Well,
feel like vibes goes a little deeper than just vibrations.
yeah.
Like vibes is a specific vibration.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just like the buzzwords. But yeah, vibes.
Vibes.
I think it's interesting that you can have good and bad vibes.
Yeah.
As if there was a moral compass on your vibrations. I'm sorry, I'm going back to the vibrations.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about is thinking of it in terms of like us being vibrations.
I mean, we're in a new decade.
yeah.
I'm at work and I will say the word vibes. And I like that I can do that, you know?
Huh.
And my employer will accept the fact that I use the word vibes in conversation.
That's weird that wasn't a thing.
And maybe it was in the 70s, but I just don't think anyone in the 90s or the early 2000s was like consistently using the word vibes
Yeah.
in, you know, their weekly meetings.
I like the subtle ways in which the sort of like spiritual culture is developing into our mainstream culture, but like just that good vibes, man. You know, that is a concept that wouldn't necessarily have been.
But what is a good vibe?
It's a good question. I feel like I can. So when I think of vibes, you know, I do think of it like like it's simple. The idea of vibes, I feel like, is simplifying everything down to like just vibration, you know? And then some of those vibrations, you're like, yeah.
These are good vibrations.
Yeah.
But what? So you have your set of vibrations,
Yeah.
and then you look at them through your moral lens and say, these vibrations are good. But why?
Well, I think that there's a lot of different reasons why you get like good vibes out of stuff. I feel like good vibes is for naming when your brain is like decreeing something to be morally positive, you know, having value.
Yeah. I actually don't. I don't think when you use the word good vibes that it entails good in the same way. I don't know if it necessarily... I know good and bad are
Yeah.
moral words, but I do think vibrations are beyond morals.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe a more accurate word for good vibes would be your experience of the vibrations.
Yeah.
Comfortable vibes, chill vibes,
Yeah.
fun vibes, happy vibes, sad vibes. Maybe vibes are more related to emotional states.
Yeah. I like that.
Mm.
Yeah. I think moral is, I don't think, it's a moral thing. I think it's it is an experiential thing and I guess, yeah, I like that. Emotional states. When the world elicits in you emotional states, and we simply regard the world as eliciting in me good emotional states, you just say, yeah, I'm getting some good vibes.
It's just fascinating because we generally think of our emotional state or other people's emotional states as being their own, and I think we often underestimate how much like our emotional state bleeds into others and vice versa. And so I think that's why I really like the idea of talking about vibes, because it seems to recognize our inherent connection.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're not all these completely independent beings who have our own set of experiences, but your experience of life right now and the emotions you feel can impact me without you saying anything.
Yeah.
And that is wild.
Man, I like the idea of vibes as being a acknowledgement and then commenting on the collective aspect of our existence. Like the idea that there is, what I like about vibes is that I feel like it connects to this sort of deepest level perspective of we are all one. We're just this big vibrating thing. And then so when it's saying good vibes, that's saying like, I'm acknowledging that existence on that sort of plane, and then saying that because I say, like you say, like I'm getting good vibes, you know, and that's the idea that like that part of the universe or whatever is vibrating nicely, and then it's coming over and reaching you, and then you're vibing along with it, you know.
I just like how we're having this discussion about how using the word vibes means you're recognizing our inherent connectedness. And as soon as you said that, I just imagine some dude walking into a frat party and be like, good vibration, good vibes. So I'm like, that's definitely what he's thinking, for sure. We are all one being at the end of the day. And I'm recognizing this.
Not okay.
But I know what you mean. I
Yeah.
think as a society, having phrases like that makes me hopeful.
Because I feel like it's not necessarily it's not implicitly on a conscious level when people say, and I'd say it's usually not. It probably rarely is, but I still feel like that's where it arises from. And yeah, I like that a lot. I like that. I feel like, yeah.
So, how can we increase our vibes to share more vibrations or vibes with other people?
Huh.
Is it
Should we go about it in that way?
okay?
Hey, that wasn't a saying we shouldn't.
Well, no, I think
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's a valid point.
Question.
You know, because I guess it does, make the assumption that maybe others would appreciate to have more of your vibes, and that it would be a helpful thing.
Well, no, I feel like
Positive. No.
within this framework of vibes, assuming that vibes are a collective thing, I feel like this is helping us more deeply understand vibes, because vibes are this collective thing. But I still think it's up to you to decide. You decide if they're good vibes or not. You know, you still interpret the vibes. By saying good vibes or whatever vibes, you're acknowledging that they're coming from an external connection to sort of that oneness with another thing, but your brain is still interpreting it as being positive.
I don't know if I'd say external though,
Yeah, external isn't the right word.
because I think you can internally recognize vibes, and through recognition of those vibes, embody those vibes and spread the vibes.
That is fair. Man.
One of the things that came to mind was the practice of Metapana meditation. Really don't need to say it with an accent like that. Belligerent as fuck. But that's the way I've heard other people say it. It's kind of like italicizing.
Yeah, true.
Makes it exotic. Anyways, Metapana meditation is a meditation on compassion that you do in the practice of Vipassana. After your Vipassana session, you spend a few minutes doing your metta meditation, which is to meditate on compassion. And one of the ways in which I like to do that, and it's been described, although there really is no optimal or prescribed way to do it, is I like to imagine people in my life who I love deeply and try to help bring up those emotions that I have relating to those individuals. And then try to take those emotions, not really take them. It's weird to even use words, but we'll just use words. Have those emotions spread through your body and physically imagine, not physically, mentally. Yeah, you don't really physically imagine. You just imagine the love and the compassion spreading through your body and expanding outwards.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that, wow, what a superpower it would be if you could walk into a room and just hit everyone with your love.
I think that could get you in some trouble. I think there's a whole movement that says you're not supposed to do that. I kid, of course. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's beautiful. But I'd say, why the hell can't you do that? You know, don't we do that all the time when you walk into a room with a bright, sunny attitude and you got a smile on your face and your body language is like relaxed and happy, you know?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
I just like to think there's a next level, you know?
Yeah.
And I've always really, I've heard about people
Yeah.
who are so spiritually developed
Yeah.
that you walk into a room with them and feel their presence.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that's like. I'm not sure I've been in the presence of a person, you know, say one of those people who's cultivated 70,000 hours of meditation.
Yeah.
And they're just on a different level than any other human you've met in your entire life.
Yeah.
What does that feel like to be next to them? I don't want to deify this person because they're just a person, but I do think that their experience can bleed into yours.
Yeah.
And I'm just so curious, you know?
I saw some Tibetan monks give a seminar on meditation. And I was definitely feeling that, like, to a degree of, and I think a lot of that was, to an extent, it was my own sort of expectations of, like, I've never met any monks before and I'm super invested in spirituality and meditation and all that. And I finally get to meet them. And so, like, my brain was already wired to just, like, be like, oh, monks, you know? But it really was cool. And they really did. I remember this one guy in particular. He was a younger guy. He just had such a bright attitude and he was just making jokes all the time and smiling and all that. And it really was infectious and really, really warm and positive. And some of the older guys, I felt like there was just this super residing sense of calm that, like, really did permeate out from them. I think that is the thing that can be cultivated. I think that is, you know, honestly, we're getting at, like, what is my philosophical conclusion as to how you should make the world better. And that's cultivate good vibes, you know? Because I feel like...
Should we start a vibe farm?
Vibe farm. Yeah. Man. Just, like, chain people in a basement and be like... Get those vibes.
I also kind of like, and this goes in the realm of less positive vibrations into the realm of, like, danger. But it's weird that it's much more easily to recognize when someone has a threatening vibe.
Yeah.
When someone... You know, you've maybe walked across people like that on the street.
Yeah.
Where you know that, like, to look at them seems to be some kind of danger signal.
Yeah.
And that is fascinating. We recognize
man.
that. And it seems to be much more starkly apparent than that person who's got the bright smile that, like, walked by.
That's an interesting question. Well, yeah, I feel like it is probably going to be more apparent. But I feel like the idea of, we all know how powerful it is when you're with somebody that does have sketchy, scary vibes, you know, that, like, has a real effect on your mood and how you act. And then thinking about the inversion of that, thinking that you could cultivate the opposite of that. You could cultivate being a person that has that kind of an impact, but to the positive, is really, really beautiful. But I think it is the case that, you know, we are hardwired to be noticing danger and all that. Man, it makes me think about when I was in Lviv, Ukraine, there's this guy that was like the scariest vibes I've had from a person. He was just like really tattered clothes. He was young, probably about my age, but just like utterly bloodshot eyes and just like looked so just like empty, done. It was scary, and I made eye contact with him for a little bit too long. Oh, this is fascinating, because during that week I was trying to just project all my positive vibes as much as I possibly could. Like I was making eye contact with everybody, and I made eye contact with him for a little bit too long, if you will. And then he came over to me and just like started, talking, was asking like, please, can you help me? And then and also just kind of raging at the same time. That was one of the scarier experiences of my life. Hello. Varun is coming in. How you doing, Varun? Speak loudly so the mics can pick you up.
Pretty good.
Varun's doing pretty good.
Those are the vibrations we are receiving right now. I would agree.
Yeah.
Yo, is
Eat that
this chicken nugget?
Eat that shit.
Oh my god. This is like
Oh, thank you.
covered in a Chinese sauce.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Oh man.
General Tso's 7-Eleven combo chicken, baby.
Dude, my food's rotted.
Yeah, do you want to jump on a mic room?
Nah. I can't save it too long. I gotta
Okay.
fucking do my homework.
It's tasty.
I'm totally lost everywhere we were.
I still got it.
Oh, I remember now.
Yeah. It's fascinating that my thinking would get me to there, like what the story that I'm telling, because this felt like the ultimate showdown of good vibes versus like scary vibes in my life. Because this dude was like really threatening, scary, and just like raging and like asking me to help him. And I was like, sorry, I can't do anything. And he was just getting mad at me, utterly bloodshot eyes, stank of alcohol. And he just was like, I need alcohol, And he was like, and I was just like, that whole week I had been just practicing good vibes, because that's what I like to do when I travel. I like to walk around and just project like, smiles and all that stuff. And he was like, I'm just so done, blah, 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 blah. I could just, he was, a foot away from me, staring at me. He was just like, I could just kill someone, And like, that was the most intense shit I've ever dealt with. And it was like, that's where I felt like it was this sort of like, I could not flinch in my good vibes. Not good vibes there, but calm vibes.
Calm vibrations.
And that's how I decided I had to deal with that. Was
vibrations.
Yeah. Just like absolute calm, and just like not be frightened, not like show anger or be threatening in any way, but just be completely calm in the hopes that he wouldn't attack me or anything like that, but also that like, maybe it would have a positive impact on him. And I was just like, no, don't do that. I think is what I actually said.
No, killing.
Don't do that.
No, friend.
Yeah. No. And then I sort of, I can't remember what I really said at that point, but
one of the things that
I actually told him to breathe. I was just like, just breathe, Yeah, and then
this fixes it. That's my favorite thing to tell bloodshot homeless people.
What the fuck did you just fucking take me?
no, I didn't say breathe. I said just calm down.
Tell me what to do, bitch.
Varun, if you're gonna talk, you have to jump on a mic.
Otherwise, we're just laughing at ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We were laughing at
No, I gotta.
funny comments.
Anyways, that's a little personal story of some vibes. And then I just sort of disengaged and walked away quickly. Yeah.
That's always one of the things that I've struggled with. Not always. It's been a struggle. Is
Homeless people coming up to you.
yeah, because I want to share empathy with people,
Yeah.
and I really, really understand how much I appreciate recognition, and I know that I wouldn't like to be walked by and ignored
Yeah.
on the street. And so, for the most part, I kind of ran by a similar tactic as the one you described. Homeless people on the street, I give them extended eye contact. And honestly, a lot of times they would show appreciation, not even ask me for money, but just give like a head nod. 'Cause it's a very common thing to see in DC.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was happy to recognize these people a little bit. I wasn't going to, give them money or anything. But then there was one evening where it was a little late, and I was in an area that was a little quiet, and there was a man walking by who had just finished yelling at somebody else. I'm not sure why. I thought maybe he knew the guy, but I'm pretty sure he didn't know the guy.
Yeah.
And he walked up to me, and naturally, as he's walking by, I just give him a nice full set of eyes. Here's my complete eye contact and a very open body language. And he's, maybe 6'2", 6'3", big dude. And starts telling me this story about how he just got out of prison and how he's like, he needs a bus ticket to Florida to make this new life that he's been working on. Tells me he read the Quran and the Bible in prison. New man. But the words seemed hollow.
Yeah.
And his eyes seemed very empty, the same way you described. Maybe he had been on something or drinking. And so, but I sat there anyways, and I just looked directly at him, and I tried to keep projecting calmness and openness and recognition and all of these things. And it culminated down at the end to me telling him that I really, really am happy that he's moving in this direction, but I have nothing to give him right now. And then he stares at me with this 10-yard stare. And I didn't know what to make of it. It was extended, 10, 15 seconds. And I was starting to just, at this point, really start contemplating my vulnerability. Because I had no idea what his next action was going to be.
Yeah.
And he's just looking at me, staring into my soul. I was like, if he's assessing what his next move is going to be. And then in a split second, he does this blitz where he brings his hand to my face. He just throws a punch and then pulls back half an inch away from my face. And then starts laughing like a maniac and just starts walking away. And I was like, oh, Jesus. That was one of the few times where I really just contemplated my mortality a little bit.
Yeah.
And honestly, since that incident, I've really limited my recognition of people on the street. And I don't know how I feel about that. Because on one hand, I want to share that, and I don't want to make decisions out of fear. But on the other hand, it's, more likely better for my well-being not to do that. So maybe that means I just need to really cultivate stronger vibrations. Or maybe it means that I'm not necessarily, and most people aren't, in the position to assume that your vibes will, I think it's, what's the word? A dangerous assumption to think that your vibrations of positivity will transform people who are suffering from negative vibrations.
Yeah.
And in most cases, the stronger wavelength will be the one of negativity. And I think a lot of people in their lives convince themselves, whether it's that one friend they have who has all these problems and they think that they can solve their friend's problems for them. But really, as they spend more time with them, they get intertwined in the problems themselves. And so for now, I've come to the conclusion that if I can't send out vibrations that I think are going to overpower, I don't know if that's the word, because it's not like a fight of vibrations, but you know what I mean. I think I'm just not assuming that I'll change the lives of others so easily.
Yeah. And I guess and I feel like this is probably the case for you too, when we're out, if making strong positive eye contact or whatever with people, it's not like we think that we're going to fix their problems or change their life or anything like that. It's just sending a little bit of positivity their way. And I feel like that in of itself isn't a bad thing at all. But I think it is. It's kind of a. It's a sad sort of fact that like that does open you up for interaction that may go negatively for you, you know.
Okay, I agree with the way you put it. I like that. I think I jumped a little bit
Mm-hmm.
into like the whole like, yeah, I was jumping into like long-term relationships with people from my contact,
Yeah.
and I guess that's what they do. That's what they talk to you.
Yeah. I do kind of like, I'm trying to put myself in the position of like one of these other people. And it's like to put my vibes in that direction without any intention to necessarily actually interact with a person does feel a little bit like hollow. I can, maybe not hollow, but I can see how they'd be like, a person might be like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like, or even with like our, you know, whatever altruistic mindset that we've deluded ourselves.
I've recognized you.
Yeah, where it's like, I'm
But don't
recognizing.
talk to me, street people.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
pat myself on the back. I'm recognizing all of these individuals.
Yeah, I can see how that's like very bullshit. I still, you know, it comes from a good place. I think it comes from a good place, but I can understand how it's, yeah.
Please take my vibrations. Just leave me alone.
That's funny. Man, vibes.
Vibes. Oh.
I like the concept of vibes. It's a great concept, man. I like the idea of cultivating vibes.
Cultivating vibes.
Yeah. I alluded to this earlier on, but you know, for a long time, I learned some spiritual, philosophical stuff that made my life, that was really, really positive for me. And I felt a strong urge to tell everybody, and a strong like motivation for and life purpose in wanting to help, like communicate this stuff to other people. And it's a lot of the stuff that we talk about on the podcast, you know? And I really sort of pushed to do it, and I'd talk with a lot of people, but then I realized relatively quickly that I have no control over whether another person picks up on the stuff that I'm, you know, that has had a big impact on me. And it's not necessarily even my place to be trying to convince anybody of anything. And so my conclusion really towards like, how do you make the world a better place? How do you try and use the philosophy, spirituality, and all that you developed towards making a positive impact on the world and other people? And I think one of the biggest conclusions I've come down to is live those values yourself, like really explore them and embrace them to the fullest, and then let your life be transformed by it. And then if it transforms for the better, you'll model that behavior for other people. And I think that one of the biggest ways that is literally just cultivating good vibes, getting yourself to be a person that is calm and just like open and positive, and is constantly projecting that to everybody around you. Because even if it's not like in all the words and intellectual mumbo jumbo, whatever, you know, like just putting that out into the world has an impact on people. Because we do seek out the behavior that we see as being positive and try and, you know.
The cultivation of good vibes is extremely simple.
Yeah.
It doesn't require any deep philosophical knowledge.
Yeah.
It just requires a set of values and action.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun to talk about and discuss
Yes.
and talk and, you know, go deep into the nuances intellectually.
Mhm.
But really, it is as simple as you do those things that call to you, that are like forthright and need to get done, and then you do them valiantly, and just, it's a simple life. You just, you know, embrace the values that you like to talk about or you think might improve your life, and see if they do. Just do a little,
Yeah.
do a little test. You
And
know?
that's so much of it is be a scientist with your
Yeah.
own stuff. Like if you've got some thing that you think is good and positive and right and would be good for you, try it.
out. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Test it out. Do it for a month. If it doesn't change your life positively, don't keep doing it.
Mhm.
If it does,
And if you
congrats.
you don't you don't and we don't know what is best and what is right and all that, but if you focus on a mentality of striving to uncover what is like a good life, what is meaningful and all that, and then live it, then even if you don't know it, that puts you on a path of constant, striving. And the good stuff sticks, and the stuff that doesn't work, you'll stop doing.
You'll burn off and
Yeah.
rise like a magnificent phoenix.
Yeah. And then you just have good vibes.
And the vibrations are increased.
Vibes.
And with that, we will send
Vibes.
our goodbye vibes.
Goodbye.
Feel those?
Vibes.